This evening, we have the great pleasure of having a presentation about the Baha'i faith from Dr. Mona Kiani. Dr. Kiani has a PhD in education from UC San Diego. She is an accomplished speaker. She is a distinguished educator. She is an award-winning lecturer. And this evening, she's going to give a presentation about the faith that I think will be extremely interesting and will give you a great understanding of the faith. So we give you Dr. Mona Kiani.
Good evening, everybody. How are we feeling? Awesome. I'm going to ask for a couple of things. Can everyone please double check that your cell phones are silenced? I don't want to fall off the stage hearing your alarms go off, please. And if we're able to dim the lights, that would be awesome. And if not, that's okay. Okay, well, welcome to the Light of Unity Festival. We're so happy you guys could be here, and you are actually joining millions of others who are celebrating this around the world. And so, as Doug mentioned, this is the 200th anniversary of the birth of Bahá'u'lláh, the prophet founder of the Baha'i faith. And so thank you for being one of the millions around the nation celebrating this weekend. And we have more events tomorrow, so if you're interested, please reach out to one of the Bahá'ís in the Oceanside community, and they'll definitely let you know about it. Now, I was asked, what is your talk about, by a journalist who came in earlier today. And if I had to sum it up in a nutshell, I would say we are at the stage in the evolution of humanity where we're either going to destroy each other or we can work together for world peace. And so tonight we're going to take the second option, which is talking about what does that look like? And what is this revelation by this man named Bahá'u'lláh? And what is that recipe to world peace, to unity of mankind? And we're going to actually start with the American death ceremony. And so I was recently in my chiropractor's office, and I heard a story I'd like to share with all of you. Now, the American death ceremony is quite depressing, and I can assure you that many of you might even partake in this. It started as a crude ritual back in the days of witchcraft, and it really just starts with one simple headache. And with that simple headache, you pop one aspirin. And then after some time, you notice, that one aspirin did not do enough. And so then you take 2 aspirins for that same headache. And a couple months pass like this and you say, gee, 2 is not cutting it. I need to take a stronger compound. So you take something stronger, and then eventually, other parts of your body start to fail. Your liver is affected, maybe you get some sort of infection, and now you need to take antibiotics. And now after taking multiple rounds of antibiotics, your natural resistance is also being broken down. And we continue like this, and to the point that the medications we're taking don't even actually know what they're supposed to be doing in our bodies. And we don't even know what we're taking for what. And organ after organ, body part after body part start to fail until we're ready to call our undertaker. Now, this happened to me multiple times in my life. Now, I used to live in Chile, and when I lived there, I had an infection, and the doctor ended up putting me on 6 rounds of antibiotics consecutively, 3 different types, to the point where my natural resistance was completely destroyed. And so what I learned from all of this is something that I learned from my chiropractor, that the power that made the body heals the body. And there's no other way. Now, you might be thinking, what does this have to do with world peace? Imagine that this sickness that we have in our human body, it's not just our physical bodies that are going through this. In fact, humankind is sick. And we continue to go outside of that innate divine source in the same way that with our bodies, instead of going inward and realizing that the power that created this body is what can heal my body, similarly, we go outside of humankind's innate divine source to find healing. So we see the sickness in a variety of ways, and this should look familiar to you from our recent shootings in Vegas. And a lot of terrible, terrible things have happened in our world. Some of them look familiar. They're age-old social ills. And today, now more than ever, we are aware of all the social ills in the world. Because of the media and because of social media, we're more connected and aware of what's going on. Some of them, many of us are guilty of. And perhaps we don't even quite know the consequences of them yet. Some of them we may even pass down for generations. And some of them we've even normalized. Some of them are a source of jokes and laughter, like our dating scene. It has come to the point where just by looking at someone's face, we decide if we want to go on a date with them. And very likely, nowadays, many people become intimate before they even know someone's full name. And then we joke about it by posting on social media. Some of these social ills don't look like ills at all. In fact, you might be like, hey, I want that. Until we see it next to that. And then we are aware that there's something wrong in this picture. And sometimes we even juxtapose being spiritual, turning to God, and then in the next moment, disobeying His guidance to love one another. And so what I'm going to ask all of you to do is think into your lives. Think in your communities, in Oceanside, or wherever you reside. I'd like you to think of what social ills are you affected by. And so what I'm going to ask is everyone who's on the inside seat of these rows, there's a bin underneath your chair. And inside that bin, you will find some balloons and you will find some Sharpies. Now this is going to take a little bit of cooperation. So, here are the rules of this game. Each of you are going to grab a balloon, but inside the balloons there are some things in there. Please don't peek inside, it's a surprise. And if you're a child, you're going to pick the white or the bright green balloon. So children or anyone else who might be sensitive, you're going to grab a white or a light green balloon. Go ahead and grab a balloon. And then go ahead and pass the bin over down your row, please. If when the bin gets to the end of the row, if there were not enough, raise your hand and my amazing mom will come and bring you a balloon. And go ahead and you are going to blow up that balloon. But hold on. Again, there is something inside there, so you don't want to inhale. Make sure you only blow out. Okay? Go ahead and blow up your balloon and tie your balloon, and you're thinking about these social ills. I'll give you a second to do that. Tie it up. Go ahead and tie it up, please. If you cannot blow up your balloon, no worries. Just pass it to someone next to you and ask them to blow it up for you. Okay. Here are your next instructions. You may have noticed that inside the bin are some Sharpie markers. Now, we are going to need to share, so there's about enough for one for every 2 people. What I would like you to do is on the balloon, please write some social ills, some problems in society that you personally are affected by. They can be anything I've shown. They can be something else. Go ahead and write that on your balloon and then pass your marker to your neighbor so everyone gets an opportunity to write one or more things. I'll give you a few seconds to do that.
We need a Sharpie. Any Sharpies left?
Are you guys ready to write something?
So what did you say? What is it?
Any social ill that your personal
Social ill. You did. Don't poke it. Write on it.
Mom, don't give those pens. Those pens, those pens do that, so just don't.
We probably blew it up.
You may pass that. Who needs a pen?
I was concerned.
Sorry, that's what. Once you've written something on your balloon, please share it with your neighbor. Let them know, what did you write down? Please raise your hand if you have a Sharpie that you're done with. And raise your hand if you need a Sharpie. Okay, please pass it on to someone who needs a Sharpie.
Don't go too big.
Okay, here we go. You have a balloon. You have at least one social ill written on it. You've also taken the opportunity to share that with your neighbor. Now, we're going to just take a quick, let's bring it back together, please. Thank you. We're going to take a quick, organized, chaotic moment, okay? Organized chaos. And we are going to toss our balloon when I say go. And you are going to catch somebody else's balloon. And you're going to go ahead and see what their social ill is. You're welcome to hit them around a few times before you settle on the one you want to catch. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, go ahead and catch a balloon. Go ahead and catch one. And go ahead and read it. All right, perfect. Thank you. Now, whatever balloon's coming towards you, go ahead and catch it, please. Whatever balloon is coming near you, go ahead and catch it, please. If you have more than one, please pass yours on to someone else. If you have more than one, please pass it on to someone else. All right, go ahead and catch it, please. Go ahead and catch it. All right. I'm going to ask you all to stop throwing the balloons now.
Should you have more than one or no?
There's just one.
Thank you.
All right.
I had two, so maybe.
All right.
Looks like a lot of people have to do.
Thank you so much. Can I get a few volunteers to just shout out some of those ills that you're reading on your balloon? Can I get a volunteer? All right. Nice and loud for everyone.
Drug abuse.
Thank you. Someone else. Someone over here. Thank you. Crazy people. Thank you. Yes.
Sexual harassment.
Thank you.
Ageism.
Ageism. Thank you.
Poverty.
Poverty. Great. Now, misinformation. Now, I'm going to ask you all to do something that's going to be extremely challenging. Are you ready? I'm going to ask you to go ahead and take that balloon, and you're going to place it under your chair, and you've got to promise me you're not going to touch it until I let you know when it's time. Can we do that? Thank you so much. Just hold on. Okay. Now, we've established that there are lots of social ills out there. Now, on a balloon, it just might kind of look fun. But in all seriousness, we continue to distract ourselves. These things exist in our world. But sometimes we think, well, maybe just a new relationship will make me forget about what's going on. Maybe the newest iPhone, that'll do it. Hey, maybe we need to get a bigger house. We need a new vacation. No, I got it. If I just take the perfect selfie, it's going to get all the likes in the world, and then I'm going to forget about all these problems that are existing in my life. And the problem is, these are all distractions. Every single one of them. And that ill comes back and over in our lives. We have not dealt with the root of the problem. And we have not dealt with it because the sickness is spiritual. And we are looking for a man-made solution. So it's like putting a Band-Aid on the problem. It's not actually healing. And so what I connected from my journey through going to a chiropractor and understanding the power of my body, I was able to see that this is exactly the same with the ills of the world. That the power that made the spirit heals the spirit. And there's actually no other way. And so going to all these materialistic means to salve our wounds is not actually solving anything, just distracting us. Now, you might think, well, yeah, I'm religious and I believe in it, but even religion has caused more world sickness. Because man has taken the divine and has twisted it into something completely unrecognizable. This is a definition of religion that I found online. And it says religion, an organized system or institution of belief based upon the traditions of men instead of the pursuit of friendship with God. Playing church exchanging internal truths for external performance, substituting spiritual realities with carnal rituals. And too often, this is what religion has turned into. And so we prefer just don't talk about it. We've reduced religion into a culture. We've reduced religion into a culture. Language, rituals, dress a certain way, judge other people. That's what we've turned religion into. And we've actually completely missed the point. It says, as near as I can tell, they're fighting over which religion is the most peaceful. Now, depending on what church you go to or who you talk to, a lot of times we even think that based on the religion we're born into or we convert to, we're actually going down a totally different path. And a lot of times these paths conflict with one another. But the greatest illusion, the greatest lie in this world is the illusion of separation. We have grown to believe that we are very different. And that is not a reality. It's actually the greatest illusion in our lives. The reality is we're one. The reality is the person sitting next to you is more alike than they are different than you. The reality is we all come from the same Creator. So Bahá'u'lláh, the founder of the Bahá'í faith, has a different definition for religion. The perfect means for engendering fellowship and union is true religion. It must unite all hearts and cause wars and disputes to vanish from the face of the earth, give birth to spirituality, and bring life and light to each heart. If religion becomes a cause of dislike, hatred, and division, it were better to be without it. And to withdraw from such a religion would be a truly religious act. Any religion which is not a cause of love and unity is no religion. Many people want to just say, well, I'm just going to be spiritual. But there is a purpose for religion itself, and the purpose of religion is twofold: to educate humanity about their spiritual reality and to provide a framework for the evolution and unity of mankind. So religion is not just for us to transform our hearts and our souls individually, but it is actually giving us guidance on how to work for unity of mankind, how to evolve as a species. And so the greatest illusion is what? Separation. Now, is that real? Is that reality? Well, I hope by the end of this I will convince you that it's not. The greatest illusion is that we are separate. Baha'is believe in something called progressive revelation. What this is essentially God, no matter what religion or faith you're from, whatever you call God, it's the same unknowable divine essence. And that over time, God sends down messengers of his message to guide humanity through these prophets. And he sends these messengers to teach us like an unfolding lesson plan. And all the religions, all the past religions, all teach the same spiritual principles. And each of these religions add on based on what humanity is ready to learn at that time. So in the same way that we are ready to upgrade our iPhones, as soon as the new version comes out, we are advancing technologically, materially, physically, in every way. So too must we advance spiritually. And God has a covenant with human beings that He will always guide us. And as we continue from Abraham's message to Krishna's message, to Moses, to Zoroaster, to Buddha, to Jesus, to Muhammad, the Baba, Bahá'u'lláh, that this divine message is the same. It is the same eternal truth. And that it continues to add on to our understanding, to guide humanity, to transform our hearts and souls, and to give us the recipe so that we can continue to evolve in a peaceful way. Now I'm going to share with you a little video so that you don't just take it from me, but maybe someone you're used to seeing in a different capacity.
Well, no sound.
We're not.
In a nutshell, but essentially the Baha'i faith is a religion of unity. The founder of the Baha'i faith, Bahá'u'lláh, brought the message for this day and age that there is only one religion, that all of the religions of the past are one changeless faith of God, that when you go way back in the annals of human history to Zoroaster, Abraham, to Buddha, and then going forward to Jesus and Muhammad, that all of these people are divine messengers from God that are bringing God's message to that people at that particular date and time and geography. And there are many manifestations of God or prophets of God or messengers of God, whatever you want to call them, that have come and gone that we don't know about, and there will be ones on into the future, that it is God brings His message to humankind with a gradual unfolding, like lesson plan.
Right.
And Bahá'u'lláh claims to be a messenger of God, a prophet of God for this day and age. And his message of kind of profound unity, Baha'is believe, is the antidote, to help cure the ills of the world.
So you grew up with this sense of openness toward all religions and a belief that, we're all the same, we're all connected. Yeah.
What a miracle it was to
Yes.
grow up that way.
Yeah.
One of the fundamental tenets of the Baha'i faith is the elimination of racial prejudice.
Wow.
So to grow up feeling that we're all one human family, just to know that from age 4, as soon as you could think or walk or talk, was the gift. The equality.
So were there people of other colors, races in your church? Yeah.
All the Baha'is are every race, age, creed, background that you can possibly imagine.
And so also distinctly
How does it aid
centric.
on a
Yeah.
So who is Bahá'u'lláh? As you saw with Progressive Revelation, Bahá'u'lláh is the newest manifestation, the mouthpiece of God, here to give us the current message for today. And he is also the fulfillment of all former prophecies. Today we celebrate his 200th anniversary of his birth. He was born in 1817 in Tehran, Iran. And just like many of the other major world religions dawned in the East, he too came from that part of the world. And he brought a message to humanity to awaken the souls, to bring human beings together. And his title means the glory of God. Similar to the other manifestations of God, he lived a very tumultuous life, was exiled, banished, imprisoned, impoverished for bringing a new faith to the world. His title, again, the glory of God, there are many titles. He's also known as the ancient beauty, the return of Christ, the fifth Buddha, the Lord of hosts, the return of the Imam Hussein, and him whom God shall make manifest. Today we are celebrating his message, which is the message, so that question I asked you at the beginning, should we just let ourselves destroy each other, or shall we work towards world peace? He brings the recipe to us of how to do that. And he shares with us that the earth is but one country, and mankind its citizens. And the followers of Bahá'u'lláh number about 7.3 million worldwide, and they're called Bahá'ís. The Bahá'í faith in the last 150 years has grown to be the second most widespread religion in the world. So although our numbers may be fewer, it is very widely spread. You can go to any country in the world and find a Bahá'í community. We believe, besides it being an independent world religion, we believe in the independent investigation of truth. That means you're not just born a Bahá'í. You're not forced to be a Bahá'í. But rather we are taught you must investigate faiths on your own and make that decision for yourself. And at the age of 15, after researching other faiths, I had to declare my faith that this is the message that I believe. We have no clergy because as humanity is evolving, we no longer need someone to interpret holy writings for us and tell us what they mean, or be that person in between us and our relationship to our Creator. We can have that direct connection. And Baha'is believe in the three onenesses. The oneness of God, that no matter what we call the divine, it's the same eternal spirit. The oneness of religion, as I showed you with progressive revelation, and the oneness of mankind, that all men are equal in the sight of God. Some of the teachings of the faith are the unity of mankind, that's the number one, equality of men and women, elimination of prejudices of all kinds, and the harmony of science and religion. Now you may have noticed there was a packet on your chair. Those are some additional teachings of the Baha'i faith that we'll talk about at the end. This is the changeless faith of God, eternal in the past, eternal in the future. Now Baha'is believe that it doesn't end with Baha'u'lláh because we will continue to need guidance and continue to grow spiritually. And so in about 1,000 years or more, a new manifestation will be sent to us. Now it's so important though, if you think about it as God's message is a light in a lamp. Now the lamps are the manifestations of God. And in each time, the light will shine in a particular lamp. So at one point, that light shone most brightly in Moses' lamp. That was the message for that day. And then the light went out and went into another manifestation's lamp and was most bright in Jesus' lamp at one point. and in Buddha's lamp, and in Zoroaster's, and in Muhammad's, and for this day and age, the light is now shining in Bahá'u'llah's lamp. Now, none of those lamps are superior to another lamp. In fact, they're just the vessel to bring God's message to us. Now, what happens is the light might go off and go on to another lamp, but we get so attached to our lamp. We want to hold on to that lamp instead of following the light as it continues to shine elsewhere. Now, if you notice, I mentioned to you that these manifestations give us the message that we are ready for, and humanity has evolved, and it's a really exciting time to be alive. Now, back in the day of Krishna, he brought us teachings of the Spirit. Abraham brought us teachings of obedience, Moses of law and order. So at those stages in history, that's what we were ready for. And we continue to, Zoroaster brought us the notion of purity, Buddha of renunciation, Jesus taught us about love, Muhammad about submission, the Bab about a new era, and today, as we are able to be more and more connected as a world, Baha'u'lláh brings us the message of unity. This was not possible in the days of Moses. Because in the days of Moses, we were not as connected as a humankind. And today, with a click of a button, you can communicate with someone in the most remote corners of the earth. And so today, we are ready for this message of world unity. And so that separateness is an illusion. In fact, Baha'u'lláh is Christ, is Moses, is Buddha. We have separated them, but the light that shines in all of them is the same. Baha'u'lláh says there's no distinction whatsoever among the bearers of my message. They all have but one purpose. Their secret is the same secret. To prefer one in honor to another, to exalt certain ones above the rest, is no wise to be permitted. Every true prophet hath regarded his message as fundamentally the same as the revelation of every other prophet gone before him. Now we do get glimpses of this, of our oneness, our true reality, our elevated consciousness. And unfortunately, we get really present to it in the worst of disasters. I was raised in the city of Santa Rosa. Most people didn't know where that was until a couple weeks ago. Almost my entire city was up in flames within 24 hours. This is when people realized that they are connected. My Facebook feed was full of things like this. Airbnb had homes for free for people to stay. In front of all the stores, fire evacuees. We have nice clothes, some toys, dog and cat food, diapers, whatever. It says here, Gap will give $500 per person for all the fire victims. Call your credit card company. They'll give you 3 to 6 months reimbursement if you were a fire victim. Suddenly, we're really generous when the world is collapsing all around us, aren't we? People were Venmoing each other money, shopping for each other, putting out free food. I mean, these people just came together from all over. Here it says, the least we can do is feed you. Why does this only happen when there's a fire? Burning down an entire city. This is what God's message is. But we've created that illusion of separateness. In the Vegas shootings, people covered other people with their own bodies. They were a human shield. It doesn't get more connected than that. Why does it take someone shooting the people all around us for us to be willing to prefer our brother to ourselves? Isn't that the guidance of Jesus? This elderly couple, their house was no more than ashes when they returned to it. And this man found a lemon on the tree. And he turns to his wife and he says, "Look, hon, we can have lemon in our drinks tonight." That kind of optimism. Now, funny enough, I have to ask you guys, does it take these extreme life and death experiences for us to wake up? Does it take almost dying in a drunk driving accident for us to decide I'm not going to drink anymore? Does it take losing someone to cancer or some other illness to decide I better start eating clean? I don't know. You know, Eckhart Tolle says that people go through devastation, and for some people, they come out of that devastation abandoning all of their man-made identities. All of these man-made identities that we cling onto because we think that's who we are. And in that moment, they are in complete serenity and bliss and peace. And he calls it the peace of God, which passeth all understanding. And so maybe we need these disasters. But Bahá'u'lláh says, "O Son of Spirit, noble have I created thee, yet thou hast abased thyself." We were created noble. We don't need our homes to burn down. We don't need a shooting. Because we were created noble. And this is our capacity. Rise then unto that for which thou wast created. And that is my invitation to all of us tonight. To rise to the purpose in which we were created. Now our sickness runs deep. Some of us are sitting really pretty on the top of that iceberg, and so being so comfortable, it's easy not to care about the rest of the world. It's really easy. But our sickness as a humanity runs very deep, and every once in a while we get glimpses of just how big that iceberg is, and that's what the fire brings out. That's what the shooting brings out. And sometimes we just choose to be blind, choose not to be connected. It's easier to keep those man-made identities and our ego speaking really strongly to us and not connecting heart to heart, soul to soul to the people around us. And I think we even like to argue. We like fighting. It's really juicy and addicting. But the lamp, there is a new light shining in a lamp very vividly, very brightly. And Baha'u'llah's revelation brings to us the new message for today, a recipe for how we can, instead of destroying each other, go in the opposite direction and come together in unity. Now, these teachings are not just for the individual. That's part of it. It has the potential to transform each person's heart and soul. But it's also for us to carry on an ever-advancing civilization. That is our potential. That his teachings can give us what we need to take all the world with us. And so if we look at these disasters, they're actually not a coincidence. Baha'u'lláh tells us that the old world order, the way the world is, for us to have a transformation, folks, that needs to break down. The way our politics work, the way our health system works, the way our education system works, I'm a teacher by the way, that needs to break down and we need to start over with something new. And as the old world order breaks down, it gives way for the new world order to rise. The mind and spirit of man advance when he is tried by suffering. The more the ground is plowed, the better the seed will grow. The better the harvest will be. Just as the plow furrows the earth deeply, purifying it of weeds and thistles, so suffering and tribulation free man from the petty affairs of this worldly life gives us the opportunity to let go of those identities we hold on to so strongly, until he arrives at a state of complete detachment. His attitude in this world will be that of divine happiness. Man is, so to speak, unripe. The heat of the fire of suffering will mature him. The greatest men have suffered most. O my servant, Baha'u'lláh says, free thyself from the fetters of this world. Free thyself. Those fancy things that we want, it's actually just a cage we're putting ourselves in. Free thyself from the fetters of this world and loose thy soul from the prison of self. Seize thy chance, for it will come to thee no more. This is Baha'u'llah's message to us. This is a dawn of a new era where it's really time for us to elevate our consciousness as an individual and as a community.
Baha'u'lláh учит нас, что Бог не познаваемая сущность. То есть как бы мы ни стремились его описать своими словами, это всегда будет лишь отражать маленькую микроскопический кусочек нашего понимания того, что есть Бог. Бог свое знание дает нам через своих посланников или явителей Бога. Почему явитель? Потому что слово «являть» подразумевает раскрывать что-то новое, то, что нам было неизвестно ранее. То есть явители Бога — это уникальные сущности, которые посылаются Богом на землю для того, чтобы раскрывать нам волю Бога, Его цели для нас, для человечества.
Chúng ta Mungu wamekuwa wakija duniani kwa vipindi tofauti tofauti na wamekuwa wakileta mafundisho ya Mungu.
The Word of God has the power to penetrate the heart and to transform it in such a way that age-old attitudes, age-old ways of thinking start to change.
Dieu envoyait les prophètes successivement pour guider les hommes. Dieu ne veut que ce peuple soit réuni. Et Bahá'u'lláh nous a amené le chemin direct pour vraiment la réconciliation des cœurs et l'humanité tout entière.
Bahá'u'lláh आने का देश से लोगों में परिवर्तन लाना, लोगों में एकता लाना, ताकि जो लोगों में जो घृणा भेदभाव रंग रूप जो है वो हम बदल सके, हम मानव जाति एक है वो हम समझ सके।
I'm going to ask you in a moment to just take a look around this room. I'm going to ask you to do it silently and just to turn in your chair and look left to right, behind you, in front of you. You walked in this room with an illusion that you were very different than the people in this room. You walked in with this illusion of otherness. Remember, that's an illusion. Your reality is that you're all one. Bahá'u'lláh says you're like the flowers of one garden. See ye no strangers, rather see all men as friends. For love and unity come hard when you fix your gaze on otherness. Each of the creatures is a sign of God. Wow. Okay, look around the room again. Each of the creatures in this room, each person you're looking at is a sign of God. And it was by the grace of the Lord and his power that each did step into the world. Therefore, they are not strangers, but in the family. Now imagine if we treated each other in that way. So we're going to get to practice. Practice makes perfect. So I'm going to give you a task. Now, this is going to be complicated, but I know you can do it. And I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to ask you guys you have two options. You can sit where you are, but you can just turn your body so that you are facing the person next to you. Or if you don't have a person, you may stand up and find someone on the edge of the row. And I'd like you to just take a moment to face the person next to you. Go ahead and just face them, please. Ideally, what are we supposed to do? Now, as you're facing that person, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and look into their eyes. Now, I'm going to ask you to be really uncomfortable because right now, all of your social norms of this is weird are screaming out at you. And so now that you're looking at someone, I'm going to just ask you to listen. Go ahead and look into that person's eyes, please. I want you to imagine that you just had a great devastation in your life. You are at the concert in Vegas, and the people to your left and your right were shot, and you got out alive. You had a home in Santa Rosa, and it burned to the ground. None of your earthly possessions exist anymore, more than some ashes. The other human beings, these are your family. Now, looking in someone's eyes is incredibly uncomfortable because it is the part of our body that is the most vulnerable. In fact, it is the window to our soul. And if you look deeply in that person's eyes, try to find yourself in them. Because it is in your eyes that you are reflected, and in your eyes, they exist too. Please thank your partner. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not humans having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. In fact, Buddha says, you don't have a soul. You are a soul. You have a body. Now, I invite all of us to leave this room today not seeing that person on the street as an inconvenience, someone who's in our way, someone who views the world differently. But they're your cousin. They're your brother, your sister, your grandma, your son. The reality is that we are one. Disunity is a danger that the nations and peoples of the earth can no longer endure. The consequences are too terrible to contemplate, too obvious to require any demonstration. The well-being of mankind, Bahá'u'lláh wrote more than a century ago, its peace and security are unattainable unless and until its unity is firmly established. Soon will the present day order be rolled up and a new one spread out in its stead. The world's equilibrium hath been upset through the vibrating influence of this most great, this new world order. Mankind's ordered life hath been revolutionized through the agency of this unique, this wondrous system, the like of which mortal eyes have never witnessed. You may not have known, you may not have heard about the Baha'i faith until tonight. You may have never heard of Baha'u'lláh until tonight. But the vibrating influence has been felt in every atom on this planet. Now, at the time of this new revelation was when slavery took a new form on our planet. And I know this is too small for most of you to read, but it was right around that time that across the planet, the elevated consciousness took shape and slavery was being abolished. Similarly, the emancipation of women, also the vibrating influence of his new world order, took shape in the world. And the elevated awareness that men and women are in fact equal and that they should be treated as such started to take shape in our world. Technology. The growth of technology shot up right after the coming of the new manifestation. So you have all been a part of this new message, this new light, this new unfolding plan, whether you were aware of it or not, because we are all connected. And the illusion that we're separate is nothing more than an illusion.
the legacy of the 20th century is really the world recognizing that it is one.
At the start of the 1900s, countries were a lot more separated, both politically and otherwise. And because of many of the events that had happened during that century, humans were a lot more connected.
If you just look at systems of communication and the internet, people can communicate with each other instantaneously from all over the world.
Now the challenge is, how can we spiritually be connected? And how can we catch up our spiritual selves to our material selves?
The message of Bahá'u'lláh, I think, what makes it so transformative is that it speaks in this day for the very first time of the true unity of the entire human race. In this period of transformation that we're in right now, the world is going from a state of infancy to a state of maturity.
As certain systems and institutions may start to disintegrate, other systems are being simultaneously created that represent forces of integration.
Baha'is are striving every day in this process of integration to be conscious of the fact that everyone is a member of the human family, and that takes precedence over every other piece of our identity. We have national identities and racial identities in the world today, but our truest identity is that we're all human. A spiritual identity, which calls for a complete reorganization of human relationships that the world has never seen before.
So powerful is the light of unity that it can illuminate the whole earth.
Bahá'u'lláh, whose name means the glory of God, was born in Persia in 1817 and was renowned for his generosity, compassion, keen intelligence, and excellent character. In the middle of the 19th century, Bahá'u'lláh was summoned by God to reveal a new message to humanity, new revelation from God, thereby ushering an era of universal peace. Baha'u'llah's teachings form the basis of the Baha'i faith, and it's a message of infinite hope for all of humanity.
Baha'u'lláh has brought this revelation that we are all members of one human family, and we're working towards this idea of universal peace, and that's really the foundation for the work that we're doing.
We don't have a faith that stands apart and it's meant just for Baha'is. Rather, our whole purpose is to serve humanity. And so we're constantly reaching out in a spirit of collaboration with others.
The Baha'i community offers various activities to unite the community, such as devotional gatherings for people of all different backgrounds to come together and pray, classes for children that focus on their spiritual education, groups for junior youth to be of service to their community, and then a series of courses for people who are 15 and up to have spiritual conversations and really reflect on our lives and build the capacity to be of service. From these activities stem different social action projects that would be appropriate for that community.
So this video at the end shared a little bit of some of the activities, the service activities that Baha'is partake in. Baha'u'lláh tells us, let deeds, not words, be your adorning. And so acts of service is very much a big part of any Baha'is life. Now Natalie, our awesome Natalie, was outside at a table sharing some of the activities that our community offers. And so can you stand up one more time so everyone can see? So if you have any questions or would like to be a part of that, please talk to her. But we do have children's virtues classes, and these activities are actually we have the same activities throughout the entire planet. So all the Baha'i communities worldwide are unified in their approach to help advance civilization. So our children's classes, we have junior youth spiritual empowerment program. devotional gatherings where we welcome people of all faiths and scripture of all faiths, because again, we're all one. It's all the same message. And study circles. So again, that pamphlet that was on your chair when you arrived has some of the core teachings of the Baha'i faith. And so if you flip through those, this one right here, this is what Baha'u'lláh tells us the future will look like. And there are writings below each of those core teachings of the Baha'i faith to give you a glimpse of his revelation. The unity of science and religion. He says, Abdu'l-Baha says, any religious belief which is not conformable with scientific proof and investigation is superstition. For true science is reason and reality, and religion is essentially reality and pure reason. Therefore, the two must correspond. So there's a lot of teachings here that I invite you to go through. The equality of men and women, that we will not advance as a society until men and women are treated as equal. A supreme tribunal, a universal language. Abdu'l-Baha says, in order to facilitate complete understanding between all people, a universal auxiliary language will be adopted. And in the schools of the future, 2 languages will be taught, the mother tongue and this international auxiliary tongue. Again, we're ushering in an age of unity. And so these are all the components to make sure we have that. Racial equality. The oneness of humanity is a spiritual truth abundantly confirmed by science. Social justice. Unity of mankind. Racial unity. A world commonwealth. And universal compulsory education. And so I leave you today thinking about this question. Who would you have to be? Not who does that person across the room, or Natalie who runs the table, or Mona who's speaking to you. Not us. Who do you? Point the finger at yourself. Who do you have to be for us to have unity in the world? For us to have world peace? What will that take? Because it's going to take every single one of us. And so the time has come that you've all so patiently awaited to take those balloons back out. Now, hold tight to your balloons. Please do not toss them up for this portion. Now, looking at a social ill that was written by another person in this room, that social ill is not just someone else's. We are all one, so it is essentially our own. So I invite you to look at that and think, how can I be a contribution? And as we work together, we will move towards and usher in an age of peace. Know that you are where you are, not by chance, but by the design of your Creator for the development and for your development and for the development of others around you. So I invite you to hold that balloon up high. Now, with your other hand, you are also gifted an awesome pen. When I count to 3, we are going to click our pen. So go ahead and click your pen so it's sharp and pointy. And we are going to pop our balloons together. So hold it up high. And all together, we're going to pop our balloons. 1, 2, 3. Ladies and gentlemen, world peace is not only possible, but inevitable. It is the next stage in the evolution of this planet. Thank you so much for coming and enjoy.
Dr. Mona Kiani was in a wonderful presentation. That was a lot of room for thought. Thank you very much. Now, as I said at the beginning, most Baha'i events begin with a prayer. And even though I can't promise that we usually get to play with balloons, most Baha'i events do end with food. So before I say good evening to you and invite you to join us in a meal, I just want to say that if any of you have any questions about the faith, about anything you've heard tonight, please feel free to come to any of us, any of the Baha'is, and ask questions. You can recognize us because we all, just kidding, we're all different, so that's who we are. But on behalf of the Baha'is of Oceanside, I'd like to thank you very much for joining us this evening, and please